Okay, so my theory is less on the number that we're going to hit this year, that I think we have a longer runway. I don't know how much we're going to go up this year. I think it could be 200,000. That might be it, right? It might be 500,000. Like if it was 200,000, I'd be very happy. If it was 500,000, I'd be very happy. It doesn't matter to me, right? I think the real question is not how much do we get next year? I think the real question is, how long does it take us to get to 500,000 or a million? I definitely don't think right now that 2026 will be a down year.
Whether Bitcoin hits $200,000 or $500,000 this year, its long-term trajectory remains unchanged. Bitcoin is already on the path to $1 million, and it's only a matter of time. That's the message from Wall Street veteran and mathematician Fred Krueger, who believes the outcome is already baked in. With a capped supply, a large portion of coins tightly held, and demand accelerating, especially from institutions and ETFs, the direction is clear. Krueger argues that short-term price moves no longer matter. What's important now is recognizing that the financial revolution is already underway. Bitcoin doesn't need hype or speculation to rise anymore. The infrastructure is built, adoption is growing, and long-term holders aren't letting go. The market is quietly shifting, and most people aren't seeing it happen. In this video, Krueger breaks down why Bitcoin's future is sealed, what mainstream investors are overlooking, and how this transformation is unfolding faster than expected. Stick around until the end to understand the mechanics behind the next phase of Bitcoin's rise, and how you can stay ahead of it. This is how you buy and sell crypto the easy way, using eToro, one of the world's leading trading platforms. If you're new to crypto, eToro makes it super simple. Let me show you how I bought Solana in just a few taps. First, head to the search bar and type in Solana. Tap on it, then hit trade. I'm going to invest $10, that's the minimum. Now just hit buy and done. I now own Solana. Selling is just as easy. Go to Portfolio, tap your Solana asset, then click Close and confirm your sale. Super simple. That's how quick and beginner-friendly eToro is. But here's why I use eToro. Earn up to 4.3% interest on non-invested funds, 0% commission on stocks, and you can set up an account in just minutes if you want to start your crypto journey. Use my link in the description to sign up to eToro today and start trading.
I think we just have to get rid of this cycles idea. And I understand we've had it. We've had it for the first 3 cycles, really bad. But I don't think it matters right now. I just don't think it matters. I really don't. Let's give Bitcoin a room to run, because it's going to run all by itself. It does not need training wheels at this point. I just feel like there's so much money that wants to get into that will want to get into Bitcoin, that we don't need to come up with Middle Eastern buyers or strategic reserve or anything else. I think it's just naturally we're going to have this mass of money want to find itself there. And so, and it will, in particular, if America is Bitcoin friendly. There's so much money out there that it will just naturally come it'll raise the price naturally. And so, and I also, in a way, I don't want to blow off top either. I actually don't want one,
Okay.
Because blow off tops usually are followed by nuclear winters. And I don't know, I don't want another 2022 or 2018. I'd rather have just a mild, correction like we had when the Germans sold their Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Down 30%, whatever. Okay. We just don't need massive people going completely berserk on 100x options and everything else. We don't need that. That's not good, right? Yeah. And companies going bankrupt and Sam Bankman-Fried's and all the rest. We really don't need that. The best case forward would be, if we double this next year, when we doubled again in 2026, how great would that be?
That would be phenomenal. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And everybody be a little bit upset, we only went up to 200K. We did a Bitcoin reserve, but we didn't put much in it. And fine, absolutely fine. I'm the happiest guy in the. I feel like we need to kind of stop the the hype of the Dennis Porter kind of stuff. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is signing this, and then Ohio is going to do this. Guys, calm down. It doesn't matter. We're not in this race to hype to blow off this. Like, we're good. We already won. Now with Trump in, we have won.
Yes.
So we have won. Like, we're going to win. So, I think it's kind of like, smell the roses, enjoy life, and let's not get bent out of shape because we don't do a 10x. Okay, look, human greed is such that it's very possible that we get some completely insane blow off top. It is possible, right? Why? Because, it's not going to be, but it won't be the same kind of people. It won't be the kind of the degen retail from, 2020, 2021, right? Or 2017. It won't be the same guys who bought Tron and, and FTX and, Solana and stuff in 2020. What I think it's going to be is a bunch of extremely wealthy, rich people who all of a sudden sit there and go, wait a second, I only own 0.01% of my net worth in IBIT. Maybe I increase that to 2%. And that, if we get that shifting, that'll just completely, that's what could do it, right? Because there's so much of this money that's in real estate, that's in bonds, that's in overpriced stocks, and they don't have enough allocation. They have no allocation to Bitcoin. So to me, it's like a complete and utter inevitability that happens. Now we're still at the point where they're bad mouthing Bitcoin. They're like, yeah, maybe not really an asset. There's no intrinsic value. So it may take a little longer than 1 year for them to completely come to, but I don't think it's going to take longer than 5 years. The horse race started a year ago with the ETF. People are cautious with their money. They're not like, oh, new paradigm, I'm going to put all my money in Coinbase. No, they're not going to do it. So I think it's going to change, but all they need to do is just allocate now a very small amount into IBIT or FBTC. And those guys are going to clean up. They're just going to clean up. All the ETFs. But I mean, I think those two in particular are just going to be, IBIT is going to become bigger than the S&P, SPY.
Fred Krueger believes the old model of Bitcoin's boom and bust cycles is becoming outdated. The dramatic swings once driven by retail hype are being replaced by a steadier, more deliberate trend led by institutional investors and ETF. According to Krueger, the next major shift won't be loud or speculative, it'll come quietly, as wealthy investors gradually reallocate small percentages of their portfolios into Bitcoin through regulated financial products. This isn't about chasing quick profits anymore. It's about conservative capital making calculated moves, recognizing Bitcoin as a serious long-term asset. The infrastructure is already in place, the demand is steadily forming, and the transformation is well underway. Let's dive back in as Fred Krueger shares more insights on why this new phase of Bitcoin adoption is different, and how it could reshape the financial landscape.
Real estate's not going to do very well relative to Bitcoin. I really don't think it will. And so, I think you have to think about yourself as 10 years from now when Bitcoin's at $1 million. How smart is that house or that condo going to look? And I'd say probably not too smart. Terrence Yang posted something and he said, well, I invested in $250K into this condo. Nice looking condo, by the way, apartment complex somewhere. And he's like, but I invested it, that would be worth about $2 million today, right? And I said, Terrence, it could be worth $10 million by the end of 2025,
That's crazy.
And you got a timeshare in a condo for $250,000, or you got a partial ownership in this apartment complex, or you could have $10 million worth of Bitcoin, on its way to going to be worth $100 million, right? So I really think, you really got to balance these things out, and it's a tough one because I don't think you're going to see another thing like Bitcoin likely in your life. You might see it, but you're not going to get it on the ground floor like you did with Bitcoin. And you got lucky. We all got lucky. Our eyes were opened at the right time. But I just don't take that for granted. You're not going to go through life and you're going to see 3 of these. I don't think. So no. I think if you can rent, especially if you're young, it makes sense to it makes sense to potentially not buy right now. Not buy now. You do get the leverage on real estate. You're putting 20% down, but I got to tell you, it's like you want leverage. You can get leverage on Bitcoin too. You know what I mean? You can buy 2x the amount of Bitcoin that you have. I just think real estate's the loser here, and so I think you have to figure out how can you increase your lifestyle without increasing the amount of dollars you're forking out for cars and boats. And I just feel like the smart move is to rent a little bit longer. Just resist the temptation. Maybe it's only a year. Maybe it literally might be at 12 months, right?
Yeah.
It might be 12 months, so it's just like this could be the worst timing of your life if you buy that.
Right.
If you buy that house in February, that could be the worst. That could be your Marty Balmy moment.
How much Bitcoin you need to retire, and I'm assuming it's different based on the age groups and the generations, right?
Yeah. So I would say, look, if you're very young, I consider under 30 very young, right? I would say 1 Bitcoin. If you can get to 1 Bitcoin, that's great. Now that's easier said than done. I mean, I used to be a starving Stanford grad student, eating top ramen and drinking wine from bottles with screw tops, and so 100 grand sounds like a lot of money when you're poor, but I would say 1 Bitcoin. If you're in your under 30, you got 30 years to retire. 1 Bitcoin in 30 years will be enough for you to retire, I think. So I think just one Bitcoin is the answer. And, by definition, only 21 million people in this entire planet will ever get to 1 Bitcoin. And probably a lot less than that, right? It may be as little as 5 million people will ever get to 1 Bitcoin. Right now, you have about 1 million people who are at 1 Bitcoin. And I think the number, the sort of the max, I would say, is 5. I would say, yeah. So I think if you're in your 40s or something, you don't have that kind of time frame. So I think the number there is more like 10 Bitcoin. Again, you still need to kind of hold on to it for a while, and if you're in your 50s or 60s, I mean, somewhere around 30, 40 Bitcoin, I think, is kind of what you really need. You know what I mean? It's not 10 anymore, right? 10's a little cutting a little close. If you're 50 or 60, I think, and so. Even if you're talking about borrowing against whatever, I think those are the ranges, I would say.
Fred Krueger believes how much Bitcoin you'll need to retire depends largely on your age. If you're under 30, he says just 1 Bitcoin could be enough, as long as you're patient and willing to wait a few decades. While that might seem ambitious, considering only about 1 million people currently hold a full coin, simply owning one already puts you in rare company. For those in their 40s, the number rises. Krueger estimates around 10 Bitcoin may be needed, given the shorter window for compounding growth. And if you're in your 50s or 60s, he believes you'd need 30 to 40 Bitcoin to retire comfortably. The idea is simple. The older you are, the more you'll likely need due to time constraints. Krueger's message is clear. Stack what you can now. Even a small amount could prove life-changing in the long run as Bitcoin becomes increasingly scarce. What do you think about his estimates? Let us know in the comments. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.